Queen Zara stood at the massive window of her palace ship, watching the stars drift past in the endless darkness of space. The celestial throne, as her people called this floating palace, housed over 10,000 souls. Yet every night, when the artificial suns dimmed and the corridors grew quiet, Zara walked to her chambers alone. The Velthani had ruled their empire for 3,000 years. Their tall, graceful forms and pale blue skin marked them as the dominant species across 200 worlds. Most impressive of all was their gift of telepathy. Every Velthani could speak mind to mind, share thoughts and emotions across vast distances. It was this power that made them natural leaders, natural rulers. But their gift came with a price. "Your Majesty," came a voice from behind her. Zara turned to see Commander Kell, her chief military advisor, bowing low. His silver robes rustled as he straightened. "The human delegation has arrived. They wait in the main hall." Zara nodded slowly. "Humans. The newest species to join our confederation. Tell me, Kell, what do you know of them?" The commander's face showed distaste. "They are young, Your Majesty. Their civilization spans barely 5,000 years. They fight wars among themselves. They form emotional bonds that cloud their judgment. The Council believes they may be too primitive for membership. And yet they traveled here from their distant world. They must possess some worthy qualities." Zara moved away from the window. "I will see them now." The throne room of the celestial throne was a marvel of crystal and light. Pillars of living stone stretched up to a domed ceiling that showed the real sky beyond. The throne itself was carved from a single piece of starfire crystal, glowing softly with inner light. Representatives from dozens of worlds stood in careful formation, each species maintaining proper distance from the others. At the center of the vast hall stood 5 humans. Zara had seen images of humans before, but meeting them in person was different. They were shorter than most species in the Confederation, with skin tones ranging from pale cream to rich brown. Their hair came in many colors, and their eyes held an unusual brightness. Unlike other species who kept their emotions hidden, these humans showed their feelings openly on their faces. The lead human, an older man with gray hair, stepped forward and bowed. "Your Majesty, I am Ambassador Robert Chen of the United Earth Coalition. We are honored to stand before you." Zara inclined her head. "Welcome to the Velthani Confederation, humans of Earth. You have traveled far to reach us." "Indeed we have, Your Majesty. We bring greetings from our world and hope for friendship between our peoples." As the formal ceremony continued, Zara found her attention drawn to one member of the human delegation. She was younger than the others, with dark hair pulled back simply and brown eyes that seemed to notice everything. While the other humans focused on the grand ceremony, this woman's gaze kept returning to Zara herself. Not with the fearful respect most species showed. Not with the calculating interest of those seeking advantage. This human looked at her with something Zara had rarely experienced, genuine concern. "Your Majesty," Ambassador Chen continued, "may I present my staff? This is Dr. Sarah Martinez, our cultural specialist. Lieutenant James Park, security attaché. Dr. David Kumar, our science officer. And Maya Thompson, our diplomatic aide." The young woman with the concerned eyes stepped forward and bowed. "Your Majesty." "Maya Thompson," Zara repeated. The name felt strange on her tongue. Human names were so different from Velthani ones. "You seem young for a diplomatic aide." Maya straightened, meeting Zara's eyes directly. "I am 26, Your Majesty. Young by Velthani standards perhaps, but I have studied your culture for 5 years. I hope to serve as a bridge between our peoples." There was honesty in her voice that surprised Zara. Most diplomats spoke in careful, measured phrases designed to reveal nothing. This Maya spoke like she meant every word. The ceremony concluded with the traditional exchange of gifts. The humans offered objects from their world, artistic pieces, samples of their music and literature, scientific data. In return, Zara presented them with a small crystal that would allow them to communicate across space with the Confederation. As the gathering dispersed, Zara noticed Maya lingering near the great pillars, studying the living stone with fascination. The young human reached out carefully, as if asking permission, before placing her palm against the warm surface. "It lives," Maya whispered, wonder in her voice. "The ancients grew these pillars from seeds of light," Zara found herself saying. She had approached without realizing it, drawn by the human's obvious appreciation. "Each one is unique, shaped by the thoughts and dreams of those who tend them. On Earth, we have trees that live for thousands of years," Maya said softly. "But nothing like this. This is beautiful beyond words." Zara felt something stir in her chest, an unfamiliar warmth. When was the last time someone had appreciated the palace for its beauty rather than its power? "Your Majesty," Commander Kell appeared beside them. "The council awaits your presence." The moment broke. Zara stepped back, the familiar weight of duty settling on her shoulders. "Of course. Ms. Thompson, I hope you find your quarters suitable." "Thank you, Your Majesty." As Zara walked away, she could feel Maya's eyes following her. The sensation was unsettling in a way she could not name. The council chamber was a circular room where the highest-ranking Velthani discussed matters of state. 12 advisors sat in meditation poses, their minds linked in the ancient way. Zara took her place at the center, opening her thoughts to join the collective. The mental voices came at once, overlapping and urgent. "The humans are too emotional," thought advisor Nell. "Their minds are chaotic, undisciplined. They show promise in technology," countered advisor Vor. "Their ships are crude but effective. Their diplomatic protocols are irregular," added advisor Tem. "They speak too freely, reveal too much." Zara listened to the debate swirling around her. For hours, they discussed the humans from every angle, their military capabilities, their resource potential, their cultural oddities. But something nagged at her, some detail that seemed important. When the session ended and the advisors departed, Zara remained in the empty chamber. The silence felt oppressive after the constant mental chatter. She thought of Maya's face, the way the young woman had looked at her with such open concern. Why had that mattered? Why did she remember it so clearly? The answer came to her slowly, because no one had looked at her that way in years. Queen of the Velthani, ruler of hundreds of worlds, commander of billions of subjects. But when had anyone last seen her as simply Zara? The realization brought a familiar ache, the one she carried every night to her solitary chambers. Velthani tradition demanded that rulers maintain emotional distance. Their telepathic gifts could be compromised by personal attachments. Love, friendship, even casual companionship could blur the mental barriers that protected their minds during the deep connections required for ruling. So Zara ate alone, worked alone, slept alone. It was the price of her crown, the sacrifice required for her people's safety. She made her way through the quiet corridors to her private chambers. The rooms were beautiful, filled with treasures from across the galaxy, but they felt empty. They always felt empty. Sleep did not come easily. When it finally did, her dreams were filled with brown eyes and honest voices, with questions about trees that lived for thousands of years. The next morning brought new challenges. Reports from the outer world spoke of trade disputes, resource shortages, territorial conflicts. Zara handled each issue with the calm efficiency her people expected. But part of her mind kept wandering to thoughts of the human delegation. During the midday meal, taken alone as always, she made an unusual decision. "Commander Kell," she said when he arrived for the daily briefing. Yes, Your Majesty. I wish to tour the guest quarters. To ensure our human visitors are comfortable. Kel's eyebrows rose slightly. Your Majesty, this is irregular. Shall I arrange a formal inspection? No. An informal visit will suffice. The guest quarters occupied an entire section of the palace ship, with rooms designed to accommodate various alien environments. The human delegation had been given a cluster of chambers near an observation deck, with windows that showed the stars. Zara found Maya alone in the common area, sitting cross-legged on the floor with a small device in her hands. The young woman was speaking softly into it, her voice warm with affection. The palace is incredible, Mom. Like something out of a fairy tale, but real. The Queen is amazing too. She seems so composed, so strong. But there's something sad in her eyes. Maya looked up and saw Zara standing in the doorway. Her face flushed with embarrassment as she quickly shut off the device. Your Majesty. I didn't hear you approach. I was just sending a message to my family on Earth. Please, do not let me interrupt. Zara stepped into the room, noting how the humans had already made small changes to personalize the space. A few small plants sat on the windowsill, and images of Earth had been placed on the walls. You speak of family often. Every day if I can. Maya stood, brushing off her simple clothes. My parents worry when I'm away on long missions. This helps them feel connected. Connected. Zara repeated the word thoughtfully. You value these connections? Of course. Family, friends, they're what make life worth living. Maya paused, studying Zara's face. Don't the Velthani feel the same way? It was such a direct question, asked with such innocent curiosity. Zara found herself answering honestly. Velthani tradition teaches that personal connections weaken our telepathic abilities. Rulers especially must maintain emotional distance to protect the mental barriers required for governing. That sounds lonely, Maya said softly. The simple words hit Zara like a physical blow. Lonely. Such a small word for such an enormous feeling. It is necessary, Zara said, but her voice lacked conviction. Maya was quiet for a moment, then moved to the windowsill where her small plants sat in the artificial sunlight. Would you like to see something from Earth? Despite herself, Zara moved closer. Maya lifted one of the plants, a tiny thing with heart-shaped leaves and delicate purple flowers. This is called a violet. On Earth, we give flowers to show friendship and care. My grandmother always said that sharing something beautiful makes both people richer. She held out the small pot. Would you accept this as a gift? Not as a diplomatic offering, just as one person sharing beauty with another. Zara stared at the offered plant. Such a simple gesture, but it felt monumentally significant. When had anyone last offered her something simply out of kindness? I cannot, she said finally. It would not be appropriate. Maya's face showed disappointment but not surprise. I understand. But if you ever change your mind, the offer stands. Zara left the quarters feeling more unsettled than before. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and decisions, but the image of the tiny violet lingered in her thoughts. That evening, as she made her usual solitary walk to her chambers, Zara found herself taking a different path. Instead of heading directly to her rooms, she walked to the palace gardens. The gardens were a marvel of engineering, vast spaces filled with plants from across the galaxy. Artificial suns provided warmth and light, while carefully controlled weather systems created gentle breezes and occasional rain. At night, when the suns dimmed, the gardens became a place of shadows and starlight. Zara often walked here when sleep eluded her. Tonight, she was surprised to find she was not alone. Maya sat on a bench near a fountain, looking up at the stars visible through the transparent dome overhead. She had changed from her formal diplomatic clothes into something simpler, dark pants and a soft blue shirt. Her hair was loose around her shoulders, and she looked younger, more vulnerable. "Ms. Thompson," Zara said softly, not wanting to startle her. Maya turned, her face lighting up with a smile. "Your Majesty. I hope I'm not intruding." Ambassador Chen said the gardens were open to guests. "They are. I often walk here myself when sleep proves difficult. Would you like me to leave? I don't want to disturb your solitude." The question was asked with such genuine concern for Zara's comfort. Most people simply left when she appeared, assuming their presence was unwelcome. Maya was actually asking what she preferred. "You may stay," Zara found herself saying. "If you wish." Maya gestured to the bench beside her. "Would you like to sit? The stars are beautiful tonight." After a moment's hesitation, Zara sat down. The bench was positioned to give a perfect view of the star field ahead. They sat in comfortable silence for several minutes, two figures small beneath the vast cosmos. "Do you know the constellations?" Maya asked eventually. "Some. Velthani astronomy has mapped much of this region. On Earth, we name star patterns after stories. Heroes and monsters, gods and legends. My favorite was always Andromeda, the princess who was chained to a rock but rescued by a hero who loved her. Love conquers all obstacles. Something like that. Though I always thought Andromeda was pretty brave herself, facing that monster alone." Maya glanced at Zara sideways. "What about you? Do you have a favorite constellation?" Zara considered the question. "There is a pattern we call the crown of stars. 7 points of light that never change position relative to each other. Sailors use it for navigation because it is constant, reliable. Like a good ruler should be." "Perhaps." Zara looked at the young woman beside her. "May I ask you something, Ms. Thompson?" "Maya, please." "And yes, of course. Why did you look at me with such concern during the ceremony? Most beings show fear or respect when meeting a queen. You showed something different." Maya was quiet for a long moment, choosing her words carefully. "You looked tired. Not physically, but deep down, like you were carrying a weight that never got lighter. I recognize that look because I've felt it myself." "You. But you spoke of family, connections. I do have those now. But I didn't always." Maya's voice grew soft. "I lost my parents when I was young. Spent years in foster care, moving from family to family. I learned what it felt like to be alone in a room full of people. What changed? I got older, made choices about who I wanted in my life. Found people who chose me back." Maya looked directly at Zara. "But I never forgot that feeling of isolation. I saw it in your eyes and recognized it." The honesty in Maya's voice was startling. Here was this young human, barely known to her, offering understanding of Zara's deepest pain. "Velthani rulers have always been solitary," Zara said quietly. "It is our way. Just because something is traditional doesn't mean it's right," Maya said gently. "On Earth, we used to believe a lot of things that we later learned were wrong. Maybe isolation isn't actually necessary for your people. Maybe it's just something that was never questioned." The words hung in the air between them. Zara felt something cracking inside her chest, some wall she had built over decades of solitude. "I should return to my chambers," she said, standing abruptly. "Of course." Maya stood as well. "Your Majesty, thank you for sharing the garden with me tonight. It meant more than you know." As Zara walked away, she heard Maya call softly after her. "The offer of friendship still stands. Whenever you're ready." That night, Zara lay in her vast, empty bed and thought about violets and constellations, about honest brown eyes and the warmth of simple companionship. For the first time in years, the silence of her chambers felt less like peace and more like imprisonment. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions that affected billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. But tonight, for the first time in decades, Queen Zara of the Velthani had spent part of her evening not entirely alone. And somewhere in the darkness between sleep and waking, she found herself hoping it might happen again. Word traveled fast through the celestial throne. By the next morning, every Velthani on the palace ship knew that Queen Zara had spent time in the gardens with the human diplomatic aide. The news spread like ripples through still water, reaching every corner of the vast vessel. Commander Kell arrived at Zara's chambers earlier than usual, his silver robes rustling with urgency. His mental signature carried worry and disapproval in equal measure. "Your Majesty," he began carefully, "the council requests an immediate audience." Zara looked up from the morning reports she had been reading. "About what matter?" "The human situation, Your Majesty. There are concerns about protocol violations." "Protocol violations?" Zara set down her tablet. "I spoke with a guest in the public gardens." "What violation is there in that?" Kell's discomfort was visible. "Your Majesty, the Council believes your interaction with the human may have been inappropriate. They worry about the impact on Confederation stability." Zara felt a flash of anger. In all her years of rule, she had followed every tradition, observed every protocol. She had sacrificed personal happiness for duty countless times. And now they questioned her judgment over one conversation. "Tell the council I will meet with them after the morning meal," she said coolly. The council chamber felt different when Zara entered it an hour later. The 12 advisors sat in their usual circle, but their mental signatures carried tension like storm clouds. Advisor Nell, the most conservative of the group, spoke first. "Your Majesty, we must discuss the human problem." "What problem, specifically?" "Reports indicate you spent significant time alone with one of their delegation last night. This breaks centuries of established protocol." Zara took her place at the center of the circle but did not open her mind to the collective link. "I spoke with a guest about stars and gardens. Nothing more." Advisor Tem leaned forward. "Your Majesty, the humans are dangerous in ways you may not understand. Their emotional chaos could contaminate our mental discipline. Already, some younger Velthani are asking why they cannot form personal bonds if their queen does so." "Perhaps they ask valid questions," Zara said quietly. The mental shock that rippled through the chamber was almost physical. Several advisors actually flinched. "Your Majesty," Advisor Vor said urgently, "our traditions exist for crucial reasons. Personal attachments weaken telepathic barriers. They cloud judgment. They make us vulnerable to mental intrusion." "Do they?" Zara stood, beginning to pace around the circle. "Or is that simply what we have always believed? When did we last test these assumptions?" "Your Majesty, please," Nell's voice carried desperation. "The human girl must be removed from the palace immediately. Her influence on you is already apparent." Zara stopped pacing. "Her influence? You question traditions that have served us for millennia. You show interest in emotional connections. These are not Velthani thoughts, Your Majesty. They are human corruptions." The words hit Zara like ice water. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was she being influenced by Maya's human nature? Were her feelings genuine or some kind of mental contamination? But then she remembered the honest concern in Maya's eyes, the simple kindness of offering a flower, the comfortable silence they had shared under the stars. Those moments had felt more real than anything she had experienced in years. "The human delegation will remain as long as their diplomatic mission requires," Zara said firmly. "We will discuss this no further today. She left the chamber without another word, ignoring the mental calls that followed her. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of routine duties. Zara handled trade negotiations, reviewed military reports, and approved resource allocations for distant worlds. But her mind kept returning to the council's words. Were her feelings real or manufactured? Was she losing her ability to rule effectively? During the midday break, she found herself walking toward the guest quarters again. This time, she encountered Ambassador Chen in the corridor. "Your Majesty," he bowed respectfully. "I hope our accommodations continue to meet your standards." "They do, Ambassador." "Tell me, how are your people adapting to life aboard the palace?" "Very well, thank you. Maya has been particularly helpful in explaining Velthani customs to the rest of us. She has a gift for understanding different cultures." "Indeed. Where is Ms. Thompson now?" "I believe she is in the recreation area with Dr. Martinez. They were discussing Earth botanical techniques with some of your younger staff members." Zara found the recreation area easily enough. It was a large, open space where off-duty personnel could relax and socialize. Today, a small group had gathered around a table where Maya and Dr. Martinez were showing holographic images of Earth plants. "This is called a rose," Maya was explaining to three young Velthani technicians. "On Earth, different colors carry different meanings. Red for love, yellow for friendship, white for new beginnings." "But why assign meanings to plants?" asked one of the technicians, a young woman named Sila. "Because symbols help us express feelings that are hard to put into words," Dr. Martinez replied. "Humans have always used art, music, and nature to communicate emotions." "That seems inefficient," said another technician. "Why not simply speak directly?" Maya smiled. "Sometimes direct words aren't enough. Sometimes you need something beautiful to carry the message." Sila leaned forward eagerly. "Could you show us more Earth customs? We have heard little about human culture." As Maya launched into an explanation of Earth holidays and traditions, Zara noticed something interesting. The young Velthani were engaged in a way she rarely saw. Their usual formal composure had relaxed. They laughed at Maya's stories, asked eager questions, and even shared some details about their own lives. When had she last seen her people so animated, so genuinely curious? "Your Majesty." The voice made everyone turn. Sila and the other technicians immediately stood and bowed, their relaxed demeanor vanishing. "Please, continue your discussion," Zara said. "I was merely observing." But the moment was broken. The young Velthani excused themselves and departed, leaving only Maya and Dr. Martinez at the table. "I apologize if we were too loud, Your Majesty," Dr. Martinez said. "We did not mean to disturb anyone." "You were not disturbing anyone. I was interested in your cultural exchange." Maya looked at Zara with those honest eyes again. "Your people are very curious about Earth customs. They ask thoughtful questions. They seemed more relaxed with you than I usually see them." "Well, we were just talking as friends. No formal protocols or hierarchies. Just people sharing stories. Friends." There was that word again. Zara watched as Dr. Martinez excused herself, leaving Zara and Maya alone in the recreation area. "Ms. Thompson, may I ask you something?" "Of course, Your Majesty. And please, call me Maya." "Maya, then. Yesterday you spoke of family and connections. Today I see you forming bonds with my people as well. How do you do this so easily?" Maya considered the question seriously. "I guess it comes from believing that most people want the same basic things. Safety, purpose, someone to care about them. When you start from that assumption, it's easier to find common ground. But what of duty? Responsibility? Do personal feelings not interfere with important decisions? Sometimes they do complicate things, Maya admitted. But more often, they help. When you care about people, you work harder to find solutions that help everyone. When you trust your team, you make better decisions because you have better information. She paused, then continued more quietly. Your Majesty, may I speak freely? Please do. I've been watching your people since we arrived. They're brilliant, accomplished, capable. But they seem afraid to connect with each other. Even simple conversations are formal and distant. That's not strength, it's isolation. Zara felt that familiar crack in her chest again. Our traditions teach that emotional bonds weaken our telepathic abilities. Have you ever tested that belief? Or is it just something that's always been assumed? The question echoed the same doubts Zara had voiced to the council. It is accepted wisdom. On Earth, we have a saying, the only way to see if something is true is to test it. Maybe your traditions were right for the past, but that doesn't mean they're right for the future. Before Zara could respond, an urgent chime echoed through the palace ship. Commander Kell's voice followed immediately. All senior staff to the command center immediately. Priority 1 alert. Zara and Maya exchanged glances. I must go, Zara said. Of course. I hope everything is all right. The command center buzzed with activity when Zara arrived. Technicians worked frantically at their stations while holographic displays showed star charts and data streams. Commander Kell approached her immediately. Your Majesty, we have received distress calls from 12 worlds in the Outer Rim. A plague has appeared simultaneously across multiple systems. What kind of plague? Unknown pathogen, Your Majesty. It affects multiple species differently but appears to target the nervous system. Millions are already infected. The death toll is climbing rapidly. Zara studied the data displays. The affected worlds were spread across 3 different sectors, too far apart for natural disease transmission. This is not a natural outbreak. Agreed, Your Majesty. Intelligence suggests possible bioweapon deployment by unknown hostile forces. Response options. Medical teams are en route to affected worlds, but they report limited success treating the disease. Our best scientists are working on analysis, but progress is slow. Zara nodded grimly. Summon the full council. And ask the human delegation to join us. They may have relevant expertise. 20 minutes later, the expanded council chamber held both Velthani advisors and the human team. Ambassador Chen had brought his full staff, including Maya, who sat quietly but alert. The situation is critical, Zara began, addressing the mixed group. We need solutions quickly. Dr. Kumar, what can your people contribute? The human scientist leaned forward. Your Majesty, Earth has dealt with several pandemic outbreaks. We've learned that cooperation between different medical traditions often produces faster results than any single approach. Explain. Combine Velthani telepathic diagnostic abilities with human pattern recognition. Share data freely between all research teams. Pool resources and expertise instead of working in isolation. Advisor Nell spoke up sharply. Our medical protocols are classified. We cannot share sensitive information with outsiders. With respect, Dr. Martinez interjected, millions of lives are at stake. This isn't about secrets or protocols anymore. The human is correct, Zara said, surprising everyone. Emergency protocols override standard security measures. Dr. Kumar, what do you propose? Joint research teams on every affected world. Velthani telepaths working directly with human doctors and scientists from other Confederation species. Complete data sharing. No barriers, no hierarchies, just everyone working together toward a solution. Advisor Vor shook his head. Your Majesty, our people do not work well in close cooperation with other species. Our mental disciplines require isolation to function properly. Maya spoke for the first time. Your Majesty, if I may. Zara nodded for her to continue. What if the opposite is true? What if cooperation actually enhances your abilities instead of weakening them? Explain, Zara said. Telepathy is about connection, right? Sharing thoughts and understanding. Maybe working closely with others doesn't interfere with that gift. Maybe it strengthens it. The chamber fell silent. The idea was so contrary to centuries of Velthani belief that no one seemed to know how to respond. The theory has merit, Dr. Kumar added. Human medical teams work best when they trust each other completely. Barriers between team members actually slow down treatment and reduce effectiveness. Zara looked around the chamber, seeing uncertainty on every face. But outside, millions of beings were dying while they debated tradition versus innovation. We will test the theory, she announced. Joint teams will deploy immediately to the 3 worst affected worlds. Volunteers only, but I want our best people involved. Your Majesty, Nell protested, this violates everything we know about safe telepathic practice. Then we will learn if our knowledge is correct or incomplete, Zara replied firmly. The next 3 days were the longest of Zara's reign. Reports flowed in from the affected worlds as the joint team struggled to understand and combat the plague. Initial results were mixed, with some teams reporting breakthrough insights while others struggled to coordinate their efforts. But slowly, a pattern emerged. The teams where Velthani telepaths worked closely with human doctors were making the most progress. When the telepaths dropped their mental barriers enough to share insights directly with their human colleagues, diagnostic speed increased dramatically. Human pattern recognition combined with Velthani mental scanning created a powerful diagnostic tool. On the second day, a team on the world of Kepler Prime reported a major breakthrough. Dr. Sarah Martinez was working with a young Velthani healer named Jorin when they identified the plague's neural pathway. Your Majesty, came the transmission, Dr. Martinez here. We found something important. Zara activated the communication link immediately. Report, Doctor. The pathogen targets specific neural clusters, but it does so differently in each species. When Jorin and I combined our scanning abilities, we could see patterns that neither of us detected alone. His telepathic insight guided my medical analysis, and my pattern recognition helped him focus his telepathic probes. What did you find? The plague isn't random. It's designed to disrupt communication and cooperation between species. It makes beings afraid to touch, afraid to trust, afraid to work together. It's not just a weapon against bodies, Your Majesty. It's a weapon against unity itself. The revelation hit Zara like lightning. A bioweapon designed to destroy the very cooperation needed to fight it. Brilliant and terrifying. Can it be countered? Yes, but only through exactly the kind of cooperation it's designed to prevent. We need every species working together, sharing everything, holding nothing back. The cure requires complete unity. Over the next 18 hours, the Confederation mounted the most cooperative effort in its history. Velthani telepaths opened their minds completely to doctors and scientists from dozens of worlds. Human empathy and determination combined with Velthani mental precision. Crystalline beings shared their knowledge of viral structures. Energy creatures provided insights into neural pathways. Maya found herself serving as a coordination aid, helping different species understand each other's communication styles and working methods. Zara watched through security feeds as the young human moved between research teams, offering encouragement, translating concepts, and somehow helping everyone work together more effectively. The breakthrough came at dawn on the 4th day. A joint team on the world of Sanctuary developed a treatment protocol that worked across all affected species. Within hours, the cure was being distributed throughout the Confederation. The plague was defeated not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, but through cooperation, trust, and shared purpose. Zara stood in the command center as the final reports came in. Infection rates dropping. Death tolls stabilizing. Worlds beginning to heal. Around her, Velthani officers worked alongside human technicians, sharing data and celebrating small victories together. Your Majesty, Commander Kell approached. His usual rigid posture had relaxed slightly. The crisis appears to be over. Casualty figures are lower than our worst projections. Thanks to cooperation we would never have attempted under normal circumstances. Indeed, Your Majesty. The joint teams performed far better than our models predicted. Zara looked at her old friend and advisor. Kell, what did we learn from this? He was quiet for a long moment. Perhaps our traditions, while valuable, are not as complete as we believed. The young human was correct. Cooperation enhanced our abilities rather than weakening them. And what does that suggest for the future? That we may need to reconsider many of our assumptions about isolation and emotional distance. That evening, Zara called for a full assembly. Every being on the celestial throne gathered in the Great Hall, Velthani crew members, human diplomats, representatives from other Confederation species, and support staff from dozens of worlds. Zara stood before them all, her formal crown replaced with a simple circlet of starfire crystal. For days ago, a plague threatened to destroy worlds and kill millions, she began. It was defeated not by any single species or technology, but by cooperation between all of us working together. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. I have spent my reign following traditions that teach isolation and emotional distance. I was told these practices protected our telepathic gifts and ensured clear judgment. But this crisis taught me that isolation is not strength. It is limitation. The hall fell completely silent. Effective today, I am reforming Velthani protocols. Personal connections will no longer be forbidden but encouraged. Our people will work alongside beings from other worlds not as superior rulers but as equal partners. We will value cooperation over hierarchy, trust over tradition. Shocked whispers spread through the Velthani present, but Zara continued. These changes begin with me. Maya Thompson of Earth, would you step forward? Maya looked surprised but walked to the front of the hall, her simple diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the ornate robes around her. Maya Thompson, Zara said clearly, you showed me that strength comes not from standing alone but from choosing who stands with you. You offered friendship when I believed such bonds were impossible. You helped save millions of lives by teaching us the value of cooperation. Zara removed a small crystal pendant from around her neck, one that had been worn by Velthani queens for centuries. I name you not just ambassador or aide, but friend. The first friend of a Velthani queen in 3,000 years. Will you accept this bond? Maya's eyes filled with tears. Your Majesty, I am honored beyond words. Yes, I accept your friendship gladly. As Zara placed the pendant around Maya's neck, something unprecedented happened. Several young Velthani in the crowd began to applaud. The sound spread through the hall until beings from dozens of worlds were celebrating together. That night, for the first time in her reign, Queen Zara did not walk alone to her chambers. Maya accompanied her to the palace gardens, where they sat under the stars and talked about the future. Are you certain about these changes? Maya asked. Your people are taking a huge risk. All growth requires risk, Zara replied. And I have learned that being alone is the greatest risk of all. Around them, the gardens filled with other voices as Velthani crew members discovered the joy of casual conversation with colleagues from other worlds. Laughter echoed among the crystal trees as barriers that had stood for millennia began to fall. Over the following weeks, the changes spread throughout the Confederation. Velthani officers began forming friendships with their crews. Diplomatic missions became collaborative efforts. Trade negotiations turned into cultural exchanges. Some traditionalists resisted, but they were outnumbered by those who discovered that emotional connections enhanced rather than hindered their telepathic abilities. Working with trusted friends and colleagues actually improved mental clarity and decision-making. A month later, Zara stood again at her chamber window, watching stars drift past. But now voices and laughter filled the corridors behind her. Her rooms, once empty and silent, hosted evening gatherings where friends from many worlds shared stories, ideas, and companionship. Maya knocked on her door frame. "Your Majesty. The evening gathering is about to begin." Zara turned from the window with a smile. "I will be right there, Maya. And please, when we are among friends, call me Zara." They walked together toward the common room where dozens of beings waited, drawn not by duty or protocol but by genuine affection and shared purpose. The celestial throne had become something unprecedented in Velthani history, a home filled with chosen family. Queen Zara of the Velthani no longer spent her nights in solitude. Instead, she spent them surrounded by friends who had chosen to stay not out of obligation, but out of love. Through one human's simple gift of friendship, an entire civilization had learned that true strength came not from isolation, but from the connections they chose to forge. And in the vast gardens of the palace ship, violets bloomed in crystal soil, tended by hands from a dozen different worlds, symbols of beauty shared freely between friends.